the sound.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we have covered up to Shlok 3. Shlok 2 and 3 we are taking in the last session. Shlok 2 is the well-known verse that is often quoted. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam muktam nirvishayam sthitam smita. So this we have seen, bandha and moksha. They are all in our own mind. Bondage and liberation. What is a bondage for someone may not be a bondage for someone else. One person may find it a bondage, the other person may not find it a bondage. It is all within the mind only. What one person feels as liberation, the other person may feel as some kind of bondage. There was one great Mahatma. You all must have been very familiar with that person also. It was during the British time. Trailanga Swami. He lived for 300 years. So he didn't wear any clothes at all, not even a loin cloth, nothing. That was during the British time. So the British, they put him in jail. And those days, the jailer used to live in the premises, the jail premises, there his quarters will be there. So when the jailer looked out of his window of his room, he saw Trailanga Swami walking on the roof of the jail. And he got a shock. Then he ran to the jail to see whether he is in the cell or he escaped from the cell. Then he found that Trailanga Swami is sitting in the cell. And when he came out, he saw that he is walking on the roof. So, for an ordinary person, being in jail is being bound. But for a person like Trailanga Swami, whether it was in jail or outside, both were same for him. Fully liberated at all times. So, it depends upon our own mind. Where we are, what we are, how we think about a particular situation, whether it is a bondage or it is a liberation, and so on, they are all experienced in our own mind. This experience of bondage and liberation, they disappear in the deep sleep state because the mind is absent there. So somebody who is in the prison also, in jail, when he is in the deep sleep state, he doesn't know whether he is in jail or anywhere. So that bondage is not experienced in the deep sleep state because of the absence of the mind. So it is the mind alone which experiences everything. We have seen the example also. We hear people say that my hands are tied. Why don't you take this action, or why don't you do this? No, my hands are tied. I am duty bound, or something like that they'll say. But physically hands are not tied. But is unable to take action because of something, some restriction, which is there in his mind, and because of that, he cannot take action. So they say, my hands are tied, though his hands are free. So where are his hands tied? It is in his own mind, not physically. So this is all experience in our own mind. And what is bondage? We have to understand what is bondage and what is liberation also. Bondage and liberation has to be understood. Otherwise, we mistake one for the other. Bondage is nobody wants any kind of restriction or limitation or anything like that. Any kind. Nobody wants that. Even children also do not want any restrictions put on them. When the parents tell the children, don't go here, don't go there, don't run around here, and things like that, they don't like it. They want to move around freely, run around and all that thing. But then parents put restriction. No, you cannot go there, you cannot go here, you can't run there. So they don't like it. So liberation, bondage is any kind of restrictions that is put on the other person, or one feels restrained or bound. Moreover, in the spiritual terms, bondage is defined as the limitations, limited by space. We are limited by space. We extend only up to our body. Beyond body, we don't feel we exist. Our existence is just the body, that's all. So we are limited by space. Simultaneously, we cannot be everywhere. So limited by space, limited by time. When identified with the body, we are limited by time, because body is created in time and it will be destroyed in time. So we are limited by time. So limitation of space, limitation of body, the time. And then there is a limitation of causation also. What causes the formation of the body? The karmas. So depending upon the qualities of karma, that will put a certain restraints, the certain limitations on this body. So limited by causation also, what caused the formation of this body? The past karmas. Then again, this body, then we feel limited by other things and beings around us. So we are limited by space, time, objects, and causation. So these limitations are also there. Moreover, limitations of our Swarupa is happiness. We want to be happy at all times. But then again, we are limited by the objects of enjoyment, objects of pleasure. Everybody has got a different list of objects of pleasure and happiness. What gives pleasure to one person may not give pleasure to the other person, and so on. A limited time, a limited pleasure, and things like that. So limited by that also. So our mind has divided this world into three sections. Things which I like. And what are the things which I like? Those things which give me joy, pleasure, or happiness. Those will be what I will like. Then things I do not like or dislike or maybe hate also. So what are the things and beings I do not like or hate? Those things and beings from whom I get sorrows, miseries, and pain. So that dislike it. Then those things and beings from where I do not get any happiness or misery, then I'm neutral to that. And everybody's list of this, likes, dislikes, and being neutral, will be different. It will not be the same. That depends upon what imaginations individual mind is having, or what ideas individual mind is having regarding pleasure or joy or happiness, or regarding misery, sorrow, or pain. So like that, it is all different. So this is all experience in the mind alone. So that is bandhana, bondage. So that also causes bondage. Likes and dislike. Raga dvesha is also bondage. Everybody's raga dvesha, likes and dislikes are different. So that is again bondage. Different kinds of bondage we put on ourselves. Depending upon our raga dvesha, we create our jiva shrishti. Jiva shrishti is everybody's jiva shrishti is different depending upon their own raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. Ishwar shrishti is common for all, but jiva shrishti is different for everyone. So these are the forms of bondages we have. And then, of course, all of us want to be happy, and we search for happiness in the external world. And certain experiences do give us some kind of happiness, joy, or pleasure. But then we also find it's very frustrating that those experiences of joy, pleasure, or happiness, they are momentary, fleeting, temporary. So that frustrates us. And that is again another kind of bondage, because if I have to have experience that kind of joy, pleasure, or happiness, then I am bound by those things which give that, and then I have to keep on indulging in that, which is not easy, which is not simple. So, and not necessarily that that can give me happiness at all times and so on, that we have seen. So therefore, again, we are bound by that. See, the bondage we have in our lives, they are in different forms, different types of bondages, and all we have created for ourselves. Unnecessarily, we have created. So, some bondage is there. Many times we hear people saying, I cannot live without that. I cannot live without this. It is all nonsense. It is all our mind that has created. You see something. And then we feel that without this, I cannot live, without that, I cannot live. I become very desperate. And if you are put in a situation where that thing or being is not available, then will you cease to exist? No, absolutely not. Maybe a few days we'll be a little restless and all that thing. After that, we'll get used to the new situation, new circumstances, new surroundings. That's what happens. Some people cannot do without tea. Oh, I have to have my tea. Without that morning tea, I don't have proper bowel movement. As if that morning tea is some kind of switch. So you take the tea and the switch is on, and then you rush to the washroom. No, absolutely not. If that kind of a thing is there, then you have to experiment and see what happens. This, I myself have done that. Many years ago, I had this feeling, nearly 45, 50 years ago, I had this feeling. Without tea, I will not have proper bowel movement. So morning, as soon as I get up, I have to have tea. One day I thought that what nonsense is this? Is that tea some kind of a switch? Let us see what happens if I don't take tea. Well, I didn't take tea. And I had a good movement morning. Only thing is that it took a little longer time, and not the usual time, maybe half an hour or an hour late, that's all. Otherwise, there was no issue at all. And after that, that day and today, after that, I never took any tea. That's it. I said, okay, I should not be bound by that. What if I'm in such a place where I don't get tea? Then I'll get desperate. What nonsense is this? So I gave up tea at that time. Until now, I've never taken any tea. That doesn't matter to me. So we should not be a slave to this. And it is all notions of our mind. We have created it. All the delusions, the illusions of our mind that we have created it. I cannot live without that. I cannot live without this. All nonsense. We have only created it. Many people get addicted to things. And then they say that I cannot live without that, I cannot live without this, and I get desperate and all that thing. All nonsense it is. We do. We can retrain our mind also. And see, we grow out of that. It's simple. So, it is very important that we should not be a slave to our mind. That should not be allowed. You see, the slavery of the mind is the biggest bondage, isn't it? That we saw, this is the biggest bandhana. So, we should not be a slave to our own mind. Slowly, whatever our mind thinks that, okay, I cannot do without this, then we have to be determined. Let me see what happens to me if I don't take that. And what will happen to me? Maybe it will cause me some trouble for a few hours, for a day or two. After that, what? It will not cause me trouble continuously if I don't take that at all. All nonsense. So we have to experiment and we have to come out of it. We can come out of it because these addictions also we have developed. And these notions also we have developed. I cannot live without that. I cannot live without this. We have developed it. So if we have developed it, we have the ability to get rid of that also. So wherever we go, oh, I have to have this only, without this I cannot live, or without that I cannot live, or I have to have this in my meal, without this I cannot have my meal, and all that thing, that is all nonsense. So whatever comes, if you can have the things according to our own diet, if you can have things available to us, that's fine. And if it is not there, that is also fine. What is the big deal? So we should not be a slave to our own mind. This is an important factor that we have to always remember. So the slavery to the mind, that is important. And how we have developed this, these addictions and slavery that we have developed, as Bhagavan Shri Krishna has said in the second chapter, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsaha, continuously thinking of that. When we use a particular object or we indulge in a particular object for the first time in our life, that doesn't give us addiction, or by that we don't get bound. Only when we keep on repeating it, then a notion develops. Oh, I have to have this, without that. So our mind only develops this kind of bondage, and then we suffer. So we have to use our viveka to get rid of that. We have to have a strong mind. We can do it, because addictions also, we have developed it. We have to get de-addicted also from that. That is also possible. Only thing is that we have to have a strong mind to deal with that, come what may. So this is the problem. Viveka has to be there. With Viveka, we can get rid of one by one whatever things are not needed. Unnecessarily, we have collected too many things. This I want, that I want, and all that thing. And when we realize that we have collected around us too many things, and many of those we don't need it. Unnecessarily, we have collected it. Because some people have this addiction of collecting things. Like some people are addicted to shopping. Whether they need that thing or not, they have to go for shopping. Spend some money there, collect things and bring, and then keep it there and not use it. And then when some occasion comes, somebody, they have to give gifts to somebody, then whatever they have shopped, if they are not using it, that will be given as gift to someone else. So this is kind of addiction that people have developed. So we have to get rid of that. And as we have seen, this attachment, when we are attached to something, that attachment, as I said, it is the cause of our biggest bondage. And the cause of any kind of bondage is the cause of misery. And we have seen how this Dhritarashtra, because of his attachment to the throne and to his eldest son Duryodhana, how he suffered. He had to see, he had to experience the loss of all his 100 sons, just because of his attachment and nothing else. Because of his attachment, he didn't do justice to his nephews, and then he suffered this thing. Moreover, if we are addicted to something, that addiction is there, and if others come to know about our addiction, they can make us dance to their tune. So if the object of addiction is not available to us, the other person can tell, okay, I'll provide you, provided you do this. You see, in Iran, long time ago in ancient times, of course, those days, monarchs were there, kings were ruling, shahs and all that. So they used to have a group of killers. So whoever they want to get them eliminated or killed, they will send these fellows to kill them. Now, who are these killers? So one kind of narcotic that was available there, and even now it is available, that is called as hashish. So these people are made addicted to hashish. And then when that hashish is not available, they go crazy. So they said, okay, you want hashish? I'll provide you. You go and kill that person and come. Then I'll give you your quota of hashish. So these people who were killers for hashish, called as hasha hashins. So they were addicted to hashish, and then they were made to kill other people. So they were called as hasha hashins. And these hasha hashins, when it migrated to Europe, it became assassin, hired assassin. So these are the hasha hashins from ancient Iran, Persia. They went like that. So if you are addicted to something, and if that thing is not available to us, people can make us dance to their tune, make us do things they want us to do, to get that thing of our object of addiction. You see, this is what it is. So we have to be very careful about it. So this attachment and addictions, they are all created by our own mind, and we can perfectly get rid of that. It may be difficult. It may be very difficult. It may be very, very difficult, but it is definitely not impossible. We can get up. Get rid of that. Provided we have a strong sankalpa, determination. I have to get rid of this. Finish. If that strong sankalpa is there, the determination is there, we can get rid of that. There's no problem with that. So this is an important factor. Mana eva manushanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam. So here it is said that bandhaya vishayasaktam, that is the attachment to the objects is the cause of our bondage, and muktam nirvishayam smritam. And what is moksha? Moksha is nirvishayam, being detached from all, having a dispassion for everything in this world. This is the most important thing. So muktam. Moksha is, according to the scriptures, what is real moksha? Of course, this getting rid of attachment and things like that is fine, but the real moksha is limitation, liberation from limitation of space, time, object, causation, and everything. No limitation whatsoever. That is the real moksha. So this mind only can help us in the initial stages of our sadhana. This mind is a cause of bondage, and mind can also help us to get over it, get this kind of bondage. Because for contemplation, for study and contemplation, we need our intellect and mind to function well. That is very important. Then in the third shloka, we saw yatah nirvishasya asya manasah muktihi ishyate atah nirvishayam nityam mana karyam mumukshuna. So here again, Guru of this Upanishad says that if there is a doubt, how can we become free from this bondage? And here he says that there has to be a cause for everything. Without the cause, there cannot be an effect. So if we have to get rid of the effect, we have to get root. We have to get to the root of that effect, the cause. When the cause is eliminated, then the effect will not be there. So mind appears to be bound. So then there has to be a cause. And when that cause is eliminated, then the problem also ceases to exist. So if you have to get rid of any problem, we have to get to the root of that. Eliminate the root cause of that problem, and that problem ceases to exist then. But people in this 21st century are not interested in getting at the root cause of the problem. However, this is 21st century, very fast-paced life. We don't have time to investigate into the root cause and all that. Then what? They are into these quick fixes. Some temporary, some quick fixes, so that it, but the problem remains. Temporarily, it will not cause a trouble because some quick fix we have taken. Like if people have got pain, in the body there is a pain. So what is the quick fix? Taking a painkiller. That is a quick fix. You see, and when the person goes to a doctor with a pain, for him also it is very simple. A painkiller is prescribed for him. Take the painkiller. But the doctor will never investigate into the cause of the pain, root cause of the pain. There are so many causes why we get pain. Pain could be because of vitamin D deficiency or calcium deficiency or high uric acid level or dehydration or acidosis or deterioration in the cartilaginous tissue. So many reasons are there for the pain, but that is not investigated. The quick fix. Oh, we don't have time for all that investigation and all that thing, and then the cure for that. So what is the quick fix? Take a painkiller. So that quick fix doesn't help. Maybe temporarily it may help. Then the problem expands because the root cause of the problem has not been addressed. So the problem expands further. Then that painkiller also doesn't work. And then we become desperate, running here and there somehow to get rid of that. Doesn't happen. So this is what it is. We have to get to the root cause of that. Then only the problem ceases to exist. Actually, if you look at it, mind is also not attached. If we say that once a mind is attached to something, then that attachment doesn't go away. That is also nonsense. How many attachments we have lost right from our childhood through our teenage years, youth, middle age, and old age. How many things and beings we were attached to at some point in time, and now we are no more attached to that. As a child, as a teenager, as a youth, in the middle age and the old age. So this mind is also not attached to anything. That is also our illusion only. That mind is attached to that. That attachment also mind gives up. So many things it was attached earlier, it has given up, isn't it? So what was the cause of attachment and what was the cause of giving it up? The same mind was attached to something as a child, and now as a teenager, that the teenage mind has given it up. That attachment has gone. What is the cause? What was the cause of attachment as a child, and what is the cause of detachment from that same thing as a teenager? And it goes on like that. So if there is a cause for attachment, there has to be a cause of detachment also. So if we get attached to something, it can get detached also. So our mind also is not permanently attached to anything. So therefore, we have to see what is the cause of attachment and what is the cause that attachment was given up, or we became detached with that, with viveka. And of course, that kama vasana, that is the desires that come because of vasanas. So we have to get rid of those desires. So desires come from vasanas, and we have to get rid of vasanas. To a great extent, we can get rid of vasanas. Not all vasanas. Some vasanas are so strong that unless we experience and exhaust it, it will not get destroyed. So, but there are many vasanas that we can get rid of it, and milder ones, before it manifests as a desire, we can get rid of it at the root cause. And all of us are now familiar with the 4-5 sadhanas, how to get rid of these vasanas, from bhakti yoga, karma yoga, hatha yoga, kriya yoga, and jnana yoga. So different techniques are there: manduki mudra, japa sadhana, nishkam karma yoga, then chidakas dharana, and pratipaksha bhava. Now, this we are done in our last session. Now we'll take up a new shlok, new verse for discussion. Verse, now here, verse 4 and 5 has been given together. Nirasta vishaya sangam sanniruddham manorudhi yada yatyatmano bhavam tada tat param padam tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad hridi gatam kshayam tajnanam cha dhyanam cha shesho nyayascha vistarah. Nirasta vishayan sangam sanniruddham manah hridi yada ayati atmanah bhavam tada tat param padam. The first thing is that nirasta vishaya sangam. Nirasta vishaya sangam. Withdrawal from the attachment to objects, or renunciation of objects of this world. Withdrawal. So that is renunciation of the objects, vishaya, that helps in withdrawal of the mind. A youngster had once asked Param Puja Gurudev that how did he get this vairagya? How did he renounce the world, renounce the samsara? So when this youngster asked Param Puja Gurudev this question, at that time this youngster was chewing gum. So he was chewing a gum. Then Gurudev asked him, "What are you chewing?" So he said, "I am chewing gum." "How long will you keep chewing that gum?" "Only till then when it has lost all its taste. It becomes tasteless, nirasa, then I spit it out." Then Param Puja Gurudev told him that as you will spit out that gum as soon as you lose taste in that, similarly, I have lost taste in the samsara, and renounced it. So, nirasta vishaya saktam, vishaya sangam. So, after renouncing all these asaktis, all these attachments for sense objects, and withdrawing the mind within. See, control the mind, and we have to withdraw the mind within. Now, when we have controlled the mind and withdrawn it within, we cannot keep it in suspended animation for long. That mind has to be engaged in some activity, otherwise it will go back to its old activities. Again, in the outside world, to the five sense organs, it will flow out. So it cannot be kept under the suspended animation. It will go back to its old fields of activity. One person started a shop selling fish. So he put up a board on his shop. Fresh fish sold here. So one smart guy was passing by, he saw the board. So he called the owner of the shop and he said that, look here, obviously you are going to sell fresh. You are not going to sell stale fish, isn't it? And nobody sells stale fish. Nobody puts up a board selling the stale fish sold here. So you are going to sell fresh fish only. So what is the grand idea of putting that word fresh there? Fish sold here is enough. So the owner thought what he says is right. So he cut out that fresh. So only fish sold over here was on the board. Then the next day again, this smart guy was passing by. He called the owner out and said, look here, it is obvious that you have not kept this fish for exhibition. You have kept it for selling only. So it is understood. So what's the grand idea of writing that sold there? So cut that out. So that was, so he thought that what he's saying is right. So he cut it out. So only fish here. And then next day again, that smart guy was coming around and then he called that owner out and said, what is the grand idea of writing that here there? So cut out here. Cut out that here because people can see fish. So that was also chopped off. But next day again, the smart guy came, he was not satisfied after mutilating this signboard. And he called out the owner and told him, actually, there is no need of writing fish also there. Because people can get the stings from miles away. And they can follow the sting and reach your shop. What is the grand idea of writing fish there? Cut it out. So now if he keeps a blank signboard there, he has to put something there. Otherwise, some pot-bellied politician's poster will come on that. Similarly, we have put efforts to withdraw the mind from the external world, and if that mind has not been occupied with something, sanniruddha. So this mind has to be occupied with something. Otherwise, it will again go back to the old fields of activities. You see, because you see, we have heard about this weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons. They are weapons of mass destruction. But then our mind is a weapon of mass distraction. Nuclear weapons are weapons of mass destruction, but mind is a weapon of mass distraction. It is very easy for the mind to get distracted. And it is expert in multitasking also. It will keep doing the japa also, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, at the same time keep thinking also, as soon as the japa is over, I have to go to the market. And while doing japa, looking at the computer screen also, or writing something also, or talking on the phone to someone, or sipping the water also. So simultaneously, so many things are being done. So our mind is expert in multitasking also. So therefore, we can call it as a weapon of mass distraction. It is very easy for the mind to get distracted. Very difficult to control and bring it in, and very easy to get it distracted. So this continuous practice is required. So sanniruddham manurudhi. Sanniruddham manurudhi. So this controlled mind, manurudhi, means here it has to be stabilized in the heart, manurudhi. Now this heart, one is the biological heart, which we have in our left side. which pumps the blood in the body. But then there is a heart which is called as spiritual heart. Spiritual heart is something at the center. So when we have to think, let me think. We point it to our head. Let me think. But when somebody calls us, are you that? Yes. Then we point to the center. Yes, I am that person. We point to the center. So that is the spiritual heart, the center. That is the spiritual heart. So, Sanniruddham Manoha Rudihi. So then we have to establish in that spiritual heart this mind. So that is the spiritual center. So, and then we have to establish that with Sayyamit Mana. Sayyamit Mana, that is a controlled mind. Sanniruddha. Then, Yada Ayati Atmanah Bhavam. Yada Ayati Atmanah Bhavam means when this Bhava or the nature of the self, one attains the nature of the self, Ayati Atmanah Bhavam, Tada Tat Param Padam. Then one attains that Param Padam, that supreme state, the supreme reality, your consciousness, and so on. Now, how long we have to control the mind and keep it established in the heart, in the center, in the self? Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad rudigatam kshayam tajnyanam cha dhyanam cha sheshah nyayah cha vistarah. So now, Tavadeva nirodhavyam. So this mind has to be controlled, withdrawn, restrained. All these things we have to do till when? Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad rudigatam kshayam. Till it gets dissolved in the self. Till we attain the no mind state or till it gets dissolved in the self. So that is Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad rudigatam. So that till then we have to restrain, withdraw, control it. In the spiritual center, it has to get dissolved. So that is the core of our being. And what is the core of our being? The core of our being is I amness. I am, which is undeniable. No one can deny that I amness. I exist, I am. That is the core of our being, irrespective of whether somebody is man or woman or whatever it may be, whatever the status or condition and all that thing. That I amness is the core of our being. It is our existence. So, that I amness is important. Tad jnanam cha dhyanam cha. Now, mind has to be dissolved there because mind is anitya, temporary. Mind is not permanent. Mind is anitya and asat. It is not real also. It is asat and temporary. So therefore, it gets dissolved. It is anyway absent temporarily in the deep sleep state also. So it is not there. So then we have to get dissolved. Now, tat cha dhyanam cha. Tat dhyanam cha. Dhyanam. Now, what is this dhyanam? In English language, there is of course a limitation of vocabulary there. For dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, all three, there is only one word in English language, that is meditation. That is the limitation there. But then, in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he has given this Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of Patanjali Munis, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So first 4 limbs are Bairanga Sadhana and the last 4 limbs are the Antaranga Sadhana. The part of Antaranga Sadhana starts with Pratyahara. Pratyahara is Prati Ahara, withdrawal of the mind from the external world, Prati Ahara. That is the Ahara of the mind Ahara of the mind is 5 types of sense objects. So withdrawing the mind from those prati ahara, not giving that ahara and withdrawing it. So pratyahara is the withdrawal of the mind, and having done that, then that is dharana, practice of dharana. Dharana is concentration or making the mind single pointed. So practices, different types of practices are given to make the mind single pointed. So pratyahara, dharana, and then comes dhyana. Dhyana is transcending the identity with the body, mind, and intellect equipment. So transcending the identity, at the same time not falling asleep, not get into sleep also. So that is very important. So, and then samadhi is the timeless state of dhyana. That is samadhi, which leads to the sahaja samadhi. So involution of the mind in ignorance is what we call as nidra or sushupti. In our mind also get dissolved temporarily in the deep sleep state. So that is nidra, that is not samadhi. Some people may think they went into samadhi, but they were fast asleep and they mistook it to be in samadhi. So involution of the mind in ignorance is that nidra, and then in conscious wakeful state, that is samadhi. In full consciousness, full awareness, that is samadhi. That is the pure awareness, that is the pure knowledge. You see, so practice of identifying with one's own nature is dhyana, and then when it culminates into an effortless state of samadhi, that is called as sahaja samadhi. Effortless awareness, when continuously that culminates into effortless awareness of the pure self, then it becomes sahaja samadhi. 24 hours every moment. We don't have to particularly sit in particular place and do that. No, that is not required. So that is the sahaja state, sahaja samadhi. Then sheshaha nyaya cha vistaraha. Sheshaha nyaya. Nyaya is logic. Now logic is also used when we use logic, because Shruti Vakya is there. A statement comes in the Shruti. Anybody can say, make any statement, but then that person has to prove it. Give the pramana, Shruti pramana. From which scripture are you quoting it? So that Shruti pramana has to be given. Now just giving Shruti pramana is not enough, because our scriptures also tell us not to have a blind belief or something like that. You have to investigate and then come to the conclusion, yes, the statement what is given here is correct. So that has to be proved by yukti pramana and drishtanta pramana. Yukti pramana is by logic, by intellectual analysis, by rational analysis. So that has to be proven to be correct with the help of example, drishtanta pramana also, with the example from the world of phenomena. So this yukti pramana is used. In yukti, this logic also comes, nyaya comes there. So it has got its purpose, but then you should not get too much involved into that logic. Yukti pramana. So this yukti pramana is there, and then of course the last is the anubhav pramana, that is our direct subjective experience. So this is used to prove the Shruti Vakya. This logic is used, yukti pramana is used, drishtanta pramana is used, and all these things are used. That is fine, that is to element. And after that is done, then we don't go into that. We should never indulge in kutarka, argument for the sake of argument. That is called kutarka. There is a tarka is there. Tarka is there, vada is there, and then there is kutarka, vitarka also, very strange kind of arguments they put. And kutarka is diametrically something they'll say out of nowhere, which is not required. Wise people do not engage in unnecessary debates and this kutarka or useless arguments and things like that. The one who is a jnani, he remains silent. The one who is knowledgeable, they debate. And the others, the stupid only argue. So this is what it is. So we have to keep away from this kutarka. Wise people do not engage in that. Now, having said that, we move on to the next shloka, sixth shloka. Now, how should I meditate? In the previous shloka, here, when the mind is relatively purified, so the preliminary, the practice was given there. Here, now, how should I meditate? On what should I meditate? How can I realize my own nature? Now, these are the questions that a seeker might get. So, Guru proceeds in this sixth verse. Now, the sixth verse is a little tricky verse. So, we have to pay attention here what this Guru has to say. This is what happens when we are dealing with the infinite, when we are dealing with the absolute truth. Naiva chintyam na cha chintyam, na chintyam chintyam eva tat, pakshapata vinirmuktam brahma sampadyate tada. Na eva chintyam, na cha achintyam, na chintyam, chintyam eva tat. So how many times this chintyam has come? Na eva chintyam. And then na cha achintyam, na chintyam again, and chintyam eva tat. Some kind of a riddle or what? Guruji is confusing us. So now what he is telling is that na eva chintyam. Na eva chintyam means it cannot be thought of. You see? Of course, mind is a flow of thought, and of course, self is beyond thoughts. So what is said here, therefore, the self is beyond mind. So mind is flow of thought, self is beyond thought, so self is beyond mind. So it cannot be thought of. Na eva chintyam. But then immediately after that, so because mind has got its own limitations, so immediately after that, he says that nacha achintyam. That doesn't mean that it should not be thought of. What are you trying to tell us? Say it very clearly. First, you say that it cannot be thought of. Then you say that that doesn't mean that it should not be thought of. What is this? So, mind knows only through objectification, through thoughts, through objectification only it knows. Whether it is the gross world of names, forms and qualities, nama, rupa and guna, or the subtle world, the gross world and the subtle world of thoughts, concepts, ideas, emotions, feelings, sentiments and so on. So mind can know only these two realms. And then the self is, of course, not subject to objectification. It is the subject of everything. So it is not a subject. It is not an object, and therefore it cannot be an object of thought also. So it cannot be thought of as an object also. And yet, nacha achintyam. So nor it should be, one should think that it should not be thought of. First, it was said that it cannot be thought of because self is beyond thoughts, beyond mind. It is not an object. Now, nacha achintyam, that doesn't mean that it should not be thought of. So you have to differentiate. When it is said that it is not an object of knowledge, so it cannot be thought of. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that it should not be thought of. So if it is not to be thought of, it should not be thought of means it should be thought of. That doesn't mean that it should not be thought of, means it should be thought of. In what way? Now, so of course, it is beyond thoughts, no doubt. Because it is beyond thoughts, it doesn't mean that it should not be thought of, because thoughts are needed. Important thing is that we need thoughts to ascertain what self is not. Thoughts are needed to study the scriptures. What we are doing now is studying the scriptures. Even the words of these Vedanta, they are also thoughts only. They are thoughts also. But they are needed. to help us to determine what self is not. You see, that is an important factor. So we have to know what self is not. So for that, the thought is required. So it cannot be thought of. First, the Guru of these Upanishads said that it cannot be thought of because it is not an object of thought. It is beyond thought, so it is beyond mind. But then it should not mean that we should not think of it. So we have to think of it in the sense that what it is not. So that can be very well thought of, what the self is not. So nacha achintyam, so that doesn't mean it cannot be thought of. So it is beyond object, no doubt. So we have to think of it in the sense that what it is not. Is this pure self? The external conditionings of name, the nationality, the religion, the caste, or whatever it is, or the form, or the gross body. Is it the gross body? Is it the sense organs? Is it the respiration? Is it the pranas? Or is it the mind? Or is it intellect? So for these things, so it can be thought of. So here, na eva chintyam, na cha achintyam. So it is, that doesn't mean that it should not be thought of. So it should be thought of, but in this way, at least that can be used for what it is not. Na chintyam, but it should not be thought of as an object of knowledge. You see, because we are used to knowing things through objectification. From our birth until death, we have been using our mind to know things through objectification for millions of lives together. So obviously, when we take to the study of the self, the subject, not the object, when we take to the study of the self, here also our habit of objectification will come there also, because we have been practicing it for millions of lives together. That will come there also. So here, what it is said that now, na eva chintyam, na cha achintyam. Who has gone? Na chintyam. So here, what the Guruji says is that it cannot be thought of as an object. Don't think of it as an object. Don't objectify it. Na chintyam. So that has to be understood. Na chintyam. So not to be thought of as an object. Because objectification again is limited to only knowing what it is not what it is. So objectification is limited to that only, not beyond that. So self should not be thought of object. The objectification is limited to knowing what it is not. Then chintyam eva tat. What is the chintyam eva tat? So it should not be thought of object, but then it should be contemplated upon as the subject, as the self itself. So it should be contemplated upon. So the chintyam eva tat. So we have to contemplate on the Shruti Vakya, all the pointers that are given in the Shruti Vakya, in the scriptures, in the Vedanta, in the Upanishad, whatever pointers are given. So pointers to that absolute truth. So contemplating it as the self. So we are using the pointers because that itself cannot be described. So the pointers are given in the scriptures. Is an infinite truth, no form, no colors, no quality. So therefore it can't even be named, and so on. So these things are given there. So for that, now the contemplation goes on. So this, when we are contemplating on the Shruti Vakya, again that is thought based. In the Shruti also, the pointers are also thought based. And now it is said that Guruji says, just chintyam eva tat. Now contemplate on that self as per the scriptures, the pointers to the scriptures. The pointers given in the scriptures. So according to that, we have to contemplate. And then Brahma sandhayet. Brahma sampadyate tada. So when we do this contemplation, and then a point comes where we go beyond the intellect. Going beyond the intellect is going beyond the thoughts. Going beyond the mind intellect equipment is going beyond the thoughts. So then when we go beyond that, then Brahma Sampadyate Tada. Then we attain that Brahma. That leads to the no mind state. Going beyond the thought is no mind state. And that is into the realm of pure self. That is the state of realization. And here, in that state of realization, again here what it is said is Pakshapata Vinirmuktaha. Pakshapata Vinirmuktaha. There are no contradictions in that absolute truth. Pakshapata Vinirmuktaha. You see, Pakshapata, there is no difference, there is no prejudice, there is no likes or dislikes and things like that, or some differentiation, differences and things like that. No, Pakshapata Vinirmuktaha. Not just Muktaha, Vinirmuktaha. Visheshana Nirmuktaha. Totally free from all kinds of contradictions in that. So there are no contradictions. We have seen in this, in the Panchamahabhuta, we see there is fire, and if wind blows, air is also there, one of the Panchamahabhutas. Fire is one of the Panchamahabhutas. So fire is there. Earth is one of the Panchamahabhutas. So burning material is there on earth, and then it catches fire. The potential is there in that material. And then when wind blows, air Panchamahabhuta, when it blows, then this fire becomes even stronger. And then water is also one of the Panchamahabhutas, and when that can douse the fire also. So these are contradicting to each other, and yet they are all supported in the same space. Space is a substratum of the remaining 4 Panchamahabhutas, and it accepts everything. There is no contradiction in the space itself. But whatever is there, it has accepted. It has not said that, oh, something is not good, I will not accept. Something is good, I will accept. No, it has accepted everything, good and bad and everything that is there. Fire also, water also, air also, everything is there in that. That is the substratum. Even in Bhagavad Gita also, so many places, Bhagwan Shri Krishna says that I have no hatred. Nobody is hateful to me, or nobody is specially dear to me. Because the Lord doesn't have Antakaran. In Antakaran, likes, dislikes come, ego comes. The Lord doesn't have any ego. He doesn't have any Antakaran. And he is Ekameva Advitiya, one non-dual self. So whom will he hate and whom will be more dear to him? So and so is dear to me, so and so is very dear to me. All that is nonsense in the non-dual self. So there is no Pakshapata here. These kind of things. There are no contradictions because Ekameva Advitiya. So therefore, in that Ekameva Advitiya, there are no contradictions, and therefore there is no hatred and things like that. Nothing of that. So this particular part is not very easy to understand because of the contradiction that is given. We cannot think of it, but it is not that you should not think of it. But again, you should not think of it as an object. You should contemplate over it as a subject, and so on. Like Samartha Ramdas Swami said that, without being a thinker, think about that which is unthinkable. Very difficult. What is this? Without being a thinker, think about that which is unthinkable. Similarly, in one of the scriptures also it has come, the one who says he has understood, he has not understood. The one who says he has not understood, he has understood. So what is the correct understanding? The correct understanding is that it cannot be understood as an object. So this is the problem when you are dealing with something which is beyond the form, name, form, qualities, and all that thing. Apart from that also, which is infinite. We are talking about infinite, which has infinite has got no example to compare with. Finite things have got comparison, but infinite has got no comparison. So this yourself has got no comparison also. So that makes it all the more difficult to objectify it. Very difficult. And then, of course, in the infinity, there is no question of knowing the self in degrees. I know about the self a little bit. Maybe 30-40% I have realized. Now another 60-70% to go. Then I'll be fully realized. No. Either we are realized or we are not realized. Plain and simple. There is no knowing the self in degrees. So this is the beauty of this, but this is very interesting. Once we get the hang of it, once we get the catch there, we get the hang of it, then it becomes very interesting. We cannot give it up. So we have to understand this very clearly. Na eva chintyam, na cha achintyam, na chintyam, chintyam evata. 4 times he has used. The first time is that it cannot be thought. It is beyond thought, so beyond mind. Then again he says that na cha achintyam. That doesn't mean that you should not think of it. It cannot. It should not be thought. It should not be thought of. So we have to think of it. We have to think over it. So that is what it is not. Nachintyam, again he has used nachintyam. That means it should not be thought of as an object. And then chintyam evatat, we have to contemplate on it as a subject. So these are the 4 ways he has given, because scriptural words are also vrittis only, thoughts only. So the study of the scriptures also we are doing is that only. Therefore, we'll come in this Upanishad further down, more interesting part. So now we will conclude it here today, and the remaining verses we'll take in our next session. Now, if anybody has got any questions, they can ask.
Swamiji, Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes.
Yogi Bhai wanted the contradictions.
He wanted contradictions. He got it now.
But
so he has no complaints.
Unfortunately, he is not present today.
Oh.
Acha. Pushpa ji, Hari Om, Sai Ram. Pushpa ji, unmute कीजिए.
Sai Ram uncle.
पुष्पा जी आपका वीडियो ऑन कर सकती है, so that Swami ji can face the.
I'm there, okay. Uncle Sai Ram.
Yeah, Pushpa ji, 1 second.
Yeah.
1 minute. Swami ji,
yes.
Pushpa Raija ji is a senior citizen, very, I would say senior, super senior citizen.
Okay. Good.
And she is very active and with us for last so many years. Today is the first day when she is attending Swamiji our this series, of these courses. She has some question she will ask directly. Yes, okay. Pushpaji.
What I didn't understand. What questions can I ask?
No, you have raised your hand.
So whatever we have covered, if you have heard all that, if you have any doubts or any questions to ask, then you may ask.
Pushpaji, I asked you because you have raised your hand. Therefore, I asked you.
No, I didn't raise my hand, Sai Ram.
You have no questions. Very good.
Acha, Pushpaji, you can ask me the question which you asked me about the Japam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will give full justice.
When we say Om Sai Ram as Japa, or we say I am that as Japa, is there any difference?
There is no difference. And this Japa Sadhana, of course, we'll be dealing with in great details in the following shlokas.
Okay.
So that will be very clear to you then when we deal with that.
But there is no difference, no?
Yeah, there is no difference. See, Valmiki Rishi, Dakayat Ratnakar, he was given the Japa of Mara.
Yeah.
And then it became Rama. Rama,
Yeah.
Rama, 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 it became Rama.
Correct. Yeah.
So like that it is. Our astha or shraddha is very important.
Okay.
See, whenever we keep our shraddha, that is extremely important. So if we have shraddha in anything, then that will help us to grow. And shraddha we keep in something only so long as we do not know. Once we know that, then it is not a question of our shraddha, then it is our knowledge. Direct
Yeah. Yeah.
help us. So it doesn't matter whether you use Sai Ram or whether you use Sri Ram or whether Shri Krishna Nama, whatever, or Om Namah Shivaya, whatever name you can use, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Swamiji, the thing is that she is doing constant japa of Om Sai Ram. Somebody asked her to stop that and do the japa of I am that. So she was a bit confused. So she asked me this question. So
no, there is no need of any confusion at all. Now in our next shloka, we'll deal with that.
Okay.
We are supposed to focus on in japa sadhana also. Slowly, if we
Yeah.
have been doing japa of some mantra for so many years together, then how we progress on that japa sadhana. So that will go into detail in our next.
Okay. Because it goes inside me automatically.
Yeah. So that is
I
how
don't.
it should be. Because japa states of japa are different. Vaikhari Vani japa we do, then Madhyama Vani is there, then Pashyati Vani, then Paravani. When it reaches Paravani, then it automatically happens. We don't have to do anything. 24 moment it goes on inside.
It goes on. Yes.
Even when we are fast asleep also it is going on.
Yes, it is going on. So that when I open my eyes also it is going on.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Deep sleep also it goes on. That is going on. And we can hear someone else chanting there. The chanting is going on.
Yeah.
24/7 every moment. That is when it reaches Paravani.
Okay. Okay, we'll deal with it next time.
Now, next session we'll have more clarity on that.
Okay. Thank you, Sai. Thank you.
Asha, you want to ask something? Asha?
No,
because you have kept your mic open,
No, I kept it open because today's one session was little difficult. Went little bumper.
Swamiji, you have left at least me in the traffic jam, I'm standing there, not knowing where to go, what to do, how to get out. It's so confusing. I think I have to hear at least thrice your recording, then something will go in my head and I can ask you some questions. Otherwise, it is really difficult.
So,
it's not
in our next session, we can revise it. There is no problem with that. There is no hurry for us. You see, we can revise it. We have to understand, we have to have that complete clarity over that.
But at least I don't have today no clarity. I'm telling you, I'm I don't know, I'm lost.
So this is because you have heard it for the first time.
Yes,
isn't it?
yes, yes.
So
yes.
this kind of statement now, we are studying the Upanishad also have taken for this group. For the first time, I'm taking this Upanishad. You see? So then it will be all confusing also. And first time you have heard it. So, and many Upanishads will have these contradictory statements. You see? So one other Upanishad, it says that ignorance takes you to darkness and knowledge takes you to further darkness.
My God.
So when you hear that, what nonsense is this? I can understand ignorance takes me to darkness, but knowledge takes me to further darkness, even darker than what ignorance takes me to. So this is very difficult to understand, very difficult to comprehend. This kind of contradictory statements will come in the Upanishads. So therefore, it is not advisable to study these Upanishads.
No, but Swamiji, they say, that, sorry to interrupt, but Swamiji, they say that Upanishad is for a higher knowledge, and when really it's when what we say that PhD means we are really ready for knowing.
Uttama Adhikari, Swamiji.
Yeah, Uttam
No,
Adhikari.
of course,
I think I'm a what Uttam, I'm no Adhikari only. I feel like, I don't know what I'm listening to.
No, but we should be prepared. We should, at some point in time, we have to deal with this. That is very important.
Correct.
Yeah, we have to face it. Of course, when it is new to us, when we hear this for the first time, when you are not familiar with this, then you find it very strange. But if you have been exposed to this in a past life, we find it very interesting and we take to it very easily. This kind of study, I like it very much. But as someone who has not been exposed to Vedantic study in the past life also, and first time, if he may be listening to this, he'll go crazy. What are they trying to say? What are they talking? I can't figure out anything.
But this will not be past life, no. We let carry forward, like, because I'm not understanding.
No, don't carry forward it. Finish it off in this life itself. It is
Hopefully, yes.
It is not a good thing to take form.
Okay.
See, you can take form when you are in full awareness. That the Lord takes avatar in full awareness by his own free will. For that, there is no problem. And he's not affected by whatever he does or he doesn't do, or whatever is happening around him. He doesn't get affected by that. So when you're taking form in that full awareness, that's a different issue. Otherwise, better not to take form at all.
No, but Swamiji, what you taught us today was there in Vakyavrutti and that which one, Raman Maharshi book?
No, I don't think.
Saddarshan, it was there, Swamiji.
Yeah.
Because this is
it will keep coming up again and again.
Yeah.
In all the Upanishad scriptures, it will keep coming up.
Achha, Swamiji, now I have one question. The question is like this, that we are now halfway, not 50% realized, but we have Paroksha Bodha. We do not have the Aparoksha Bodha. You see, that way we are
Paroksha Jnana and Aparoksha Bodha.
So that we do not have. So what happens that, although in our mind, we understand what you taught us. So this world, it's a kind of a hit and run back, in the sense that you use the upadhis to deal with this world, to do the transaction with this world. But because we have this Paroksha Bodha or Paroksha Jnana, we have to come back to our home. You see, there is a skill involved in this. Skill is to come back without getting hurt, without getting affected, without getting attracted, and come back clean. So Swamiji, there must be some technique, for a people like us.
See, it is like the skill of a driver. Who is a skillful driver? A skillful driver is not the one who can drive everywhere very well. In the crowd also, and he's a very good driver, can drive very well. A skillful driver is the one, while he's driving on a highway or on a street or in a crowded place, he also takes into consideration what are the faults other drivers are likely to commit, because of which I may meet up with an accident. And that is how he drives on the streets. Very skillful. So he has to maneuver his vehicle properly among the crowd, also among the other vehicles, also taking into consideration about the mistakes other drivers are likely to make. And then he has to maneuver his vehicle. Yeah. And this is how we have to live in this world. With this knowledge, armed with this knowledge, we have to move around this world. We have to live in the same world. Where can we go? And running away from the world is not a solution.
Right.
The mind has to be withdrawn, and then you remain in the world. It doesn't affect you then. And then we have to maneuver ourselves. Every time that awareness has to be there. As a spiritual seeker, that awareness has to be there. Our attitude towards looking at this world should be different now. Not as an ordinary ajnani, a sansari, ignorant sansari, but as a seeker on the spiritual path, having understood the reality, our attitude and the way we look at this world should be different.
Yeah.
And that is how we have to maneuver in this world. We have to deal with other people also. No doubt about that, in our day-to-day dealings from morning till evening, whether we are into some business or work or whatever we are doing. So we have to deal with people also, but we have to be more like a witness, like a sakshi. Things are happening. You are also working, you are doing your duties and things like that. And as a sakshi bhav, you keep all the time, so that you don't get carried away, and good and bad experiences will come throughout the day, from morning till evening until we go to bed. All kinds of experiences will come. Many things we'll witness also. Some things that we witness, it may start affecting our mind also, good or bad, whatever it is. But then if we are a witness to that, the sakshi bhava is that then it will not affect our mind. Yeah. When we start identifying with those things, that is when our mind start getting affected. You see?
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Swami.
So then,
yeah, we'll call it a day.
Shall we conclude?
Yes, Swami.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.